Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. In this video today, I am giving a guide for Riven in the mid lane. It has been requested a lot, so that's what we are going over about today. But before we continue with the video, a lot of people have been messaging me that they have been on a losing streak and they always ask, how do I start winning? I always say go to proguides.com, which has the best videos on getting better at League. They have courses with pro players, they have champion tier list and matchup stat tools, and they have 24/7 challenger coach who you can talk to anytime. And they really work at getting you to a higher division. It's got everything you need to get better at League all in one place. I highly recommend it. Check out the link in the description below. Now, with that all being said, let's continue with the video. So the first thing that we are going over about is the pros and the cons. After that, we will go into the runes and the build that you have to go for if you play Riven in the mid lane. And then I will talk about the early game as well as the mid and the late game. And the last thing will be Riven combos. Anyway, back to the pros and the cons. The first thing which is really good about Riven in the mid lane is that she really excels at playing against assassins. If you happen to play Riven against a Yasuo or against a Zed or Talon, it's really not that difficult to lane against them. Another great thing about Riven is that she has very good wave clear. This is also very good because good wave clear translates to more roaming, and that also translate to farming the jungle more often. But Riven also has some bad things about the mid lane, and one of those things is that Riven is being countered by pretty much 80% of the mages that are being played in the mid lane. Riven is really weak against champions that are AP and ranged. And to be a little bit more specific, I am talking about champions like LeBlanc and Lissandra. Those that are ranged that have a ton of CZ, it can be a very big pain to deal with. As for the last bad thing, you are about to pick Riven in the mid lane, so the chances are very high that you have a full AD team. So I don't recommend picking Riven in the mid lane if the enemy team already has a bunch of tanks. Now, with that all being said, let's continue with the runes. As for the runes, you always want to go into the Conqueror page, and on the secondary page you always want to go into the sorcery page and then take the nullifying orb with Transcendence. The nullifying orb is very good because if you are playing against an AP champion in the mid lane, which obviously you're probably going to play against, the nullifying orb is going to help you survive and not get one shot. Also, the reason why you shouldn't go anything else other than Conqueror is because Conqueror is way too overpowered at the moment and it's way too easy to stack it up to proc it. If Conqueror is going to get nerfed in the future, I recommend you going for Electrocute or Spellbook instead. As for the bonus stats, you want to take 1 point into the Adaptive Force and you want to take 2 points into Magic Resist. This also kind of speaks for itself. If you play against an assassin, you can take 2 points into Adaptive Force and 1 into Armor, but if you happen to play against an heavy AP champion or AP champion in general, you always want to go and take 2 points into the Magic Resist. This will help you survive in the laning phase because you're gonna have it rough, and this will also allow you not to get one shot so quick anymore. As for the summoner spells, I always recommend to take Ignite. TP does work as well, but I would only recommend TP if you are playing against a matchup which is very difficult. As for your item build, you always want to start off the game with a longsword and 3 potions if you play against an assassin. Assassins often don't really have that good poke at all, so you don't necessarily need to get Dorn Shield. Also, if you start with a longsword, you will get your Ghostblade sooner, which is great. Not only does Ghostblade help you to go for the all-in and win, it also helps you with one-shotting and running away and roaming and chasing people around. It's a very good item. Against heavy AP or any AP ranged champion at all, you always want to go and start off the game with a Dorn Shield. This kind of speaks for itself. Once again, Riven is very weak against ranged AP champions, and those kind of champions always have very great poke, so Dorn Shield is very important. Against an AP champion, you still want to go and rush Ghostblade. Just like I explained before, it doesn't just only help you with one-shotting, but it also helps you with everything else. After buying your Ghostblade, you want to go and take Lucidity Boots as your boots. This boots is very good to buy because obviously Riven needs that CDR and the boots are very cheap. It also doesn't really matter if you overcap your CDR at some point in the game, because overcapping your CDR means more AD. Don't forget that you are running Transcendence in the runes. Anyway, after taking your Ghost Blade with the boots, you want to go and take Black Cleaver, and then you want to go and take Guardian's Angel or Hydra. It really depends on the game what you will be buying first. If you think you need more lifesteal, you go for Hydra. If you think you're gonna teamfight a lot, then Guardian's Angel is really not that bad. Also, if you have Flash Up, then buying Hydra is not really a bad choice. It kinda speaks for itself. If you have your Flash Up, you can engage into the enemy team. And if you have your Hydra, that's only gonna help you deal more damage all around you. After buying all of those items, you still have one slot left, and that really depends on what you want to have. If the enemy team has a bunch of tanks, then you want to go and take the Glass Whisper. If their team has a lot of one-shot or they don't really have that many tanks at all, you can also go and take Starrick's Gauge. Whether you play top lane or mid lane as Riven, the build doesn't really change that much at all. So if you know how to build Riven in the top lane, you can pretty much build Riven the same way but then in the mid lane. I do have one thing to say though. If you happen to play against a very heavy AP in the mid lane, instead of rushing the Ghost Blade, you can also buy the Hex Drinker. This is gonna help you survive in the laning phase, and it also helps you survive if they are trying to one-shot you. Now with all of the build being covered, let's continue with the early game. So if you play against assassins, you can pretty much play aggressive all you want, but I recommend playing safe until you reach level 6. Once again, like I said before, Riven is always very strong at level 6, most likely stronger than any other assassin. If you play aggressive in the mid lane, but you don't really get the chance to kill the opponent, but you do have the lane priority, there's a few options that you have. The first most important thing is that you fight for vision around the mid lane. If you can place a ward down between the top and the mid, or the mid and the bottom, this is definitely gonna help out your team a lot. If you have already done that, you can also try looking for roams. And if roaming doesn't work out, you can also farm the jungle camps and the mid lane at the same time. Since Riven has very good wave clear in general, this is very good. Anyway, if you play Riven against an heavy AP or AP in general, I recommend taking Dorn Shield and just playing safe under the tower until you reach level 6. Just accept the truth that you're about to be poked down a lot in the laning phase, and just play safe and just play chill until you get your first back. One thing which is very good to know is that if the enemy AP is trying to poke you down, they have to go and play aggressive in the lane. Most likely they will have to take the lane priority, which means that they are very vulnerable to ganks. So one thing that you can do besides playing safe and just farming up, you should always set up the lane in a way that if the jungler decides to gank your lane, that it can be as most successful as possible. Remember that you are playing Riven not in the top lane, but you're playing her in the mid lane. And the mid lane is a lot more attractive than the top lane for the junglers. The chances of your jungler helping you out is a lot higher. Another thing that I recommend you doing besides farming up, you should actually go and place a ward in the middle of the lane. If your opponent decides to roam to the top lane or the bottom, you will see them leave out of lane and you will know where. So having a ward in the middle of the lane is always very important. Now as for the last thing, as soon as you reach level 6 and you get your Warhammer or Ghost Blade, it's going to be really easy for you to one-shot, so look for opportunities to one-shot the enemy opponent. So if you don't get any help from your jungler and you're doing everything that I said, the best option you have is to either outplay your opponent by doing a one-shot, or try and get yourself ahead by farming the mid lane and the jungle at the same time. Also, looking for opportunities to roam is very important, even if you're having trouble in your own lane. If you're losing your lane but you do have successful roams, then you still get yourself ahead in some way. Now as for Riven in the mid and the late game, this is where it gets a lot of fun. So if you play Riven in the mid lane, there's 3 options that you have. First of all, if your team is missing out on a split pusher, you can actually be the split pusher of the team. The second thing that you can do is, if you have a split pusher in your team but you don't have a tank, you can build Sterak's and then be the front line of the team. And the third option you have is, if you do have a split pusher and you also have a tank in the team, there will be 2 options how you can play Riven in the team fights. First of all, if you have your flash up, engaging is always the best way to go. But if you don't have flash up, the second thing that you can do is to protect your ADC. This is especially good if your ADC is having a good game or if he has a lot of kills. So if you play Riven in the mid lane, there's definitely enough options that you have. I do have one thing to say though. I'm not going to explain explain how split pushing works within this video, or what you have to do if you already have a split pusher. Those are the kind of macro things, not about Riven but the game in general. I'll be talking about that kind of stuff in the future videos. Anyways guys, we have pretty much covered anything that we could cover today. The only thing we haven't done yet is the combos as well as the animation cancelling. I have already made a video about this in the past. I'm gonna place it down in this video. It's about 3 minutes long, so pretty much any combo that you can think of and exist are in there. So I'm about to run this clip right now. I will have a nice sound on as we are going over to the combos. So as from here guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully I'll see you back within the next one. So enjoy the rest of the combos and I'll see you in the next video, man. Peace.